Hello, I'm Ian Gascoigne, and I'm presenting a webinar for MBL entitled Enforcing a Judgment at Home, Making an Unwilling Debtor Pay Up. You'll be able to tell from the title that my focus is on enforcing a judgment of the courts of England and Wales in England and Wales. I'm not looking at how to enforce such a judgment in any other part of the world, including Scotland and Northern Ireland. You may be interested to learn that I present a different webinar along similar lines, but focusing on enforcing an English and Welsh judgment in other parts of the world. So if you're interested, look out for that. But in today's presentation, I'm talking about enforcing within the jurisdiction. And that's a very important matter to have in mind from the start. So I was thinking in preparing this presentation that enforcement is a pretty curious beast. For dispute lawyers, if you need to enforce a judgment, it's pretty vital, and particularly so for your client, because they want to get the benefits that they've won and been kept out of. But in many cases, you'll never get to enforcement, even if you win or resolve the matter satisfactorily. And that's because you'll either get a judgment which the other party will respect and pay up on, therefore there's no need to enforce it, or you won't even get to the judgment stage because you'll settle the claim and there'll be a contract with the other party which will tell them what they have to do. And if you can't make them hold them to that voluntarily, you have to enforce the contract. We're not enforcing the judgment. So enforcing the judgment is something which dispute lawyers come across relatively rarely, unless they're in a debt collection setting, and then they'll come across it quite often, of course. So that means I think it's not very well known about. And I know from dealing with lawyers trying to enforce judgments when they don't know much about it, that they feel a bit lost. So the idea behind this presentation is to give you a map of the territory, a sketch of what the options are open to you if you do have to enforce a judgment in England and Wales on behalf of your client. It's also a curious topic because there are quite detailed provisions in the civil procedure rules, but they're hidden away right at the back of those rules. In fact, the final provision of the CPR rules, number 89, is about attachment of earnings, which is one of the four options I'll be discussing. And the other rules relevant to the other options are there or thereabouts in the 70s and 80s. So you don't tend to have to look at those parts of the civil procedure rules often. But when you do, you need to know exactly what they say, because they are quite complicated, and the law underlying them can be also complicated. There is, for instance, legislation.